in the league. That don't matter when you standing in front of Caitlin Clark, Tiffany Hayes. I'm sorry. And all that yapping you was doing, that don't help, and that's not going to stop her. If anything, you just going to piss her off, and she really going to destroy you like she did. That's all that was. Don't try to say, oh, it's because of us and no one else. Nah. There is no defense for somebody pulling up from half court. There is no defense for that. There's nothing you could do, Tiffany.
There is an unwritten universal law that governs the absolute highest levels of professional sports. It is a harsh truth that only the most conceited, deeply insecure, and truly short-sighted defenders ever dare to ignore. Under no circumstances should you ever choose to intentionally aggravate a once-in-a-generation superstar. You do not irritate the best player on the floor, and you never talk trash to a natural-born finisher. Yet, last night, under the bright lights of a nationally televised game, Golden State Valkyries veteran guard Tiffany Hayes behaved as if she were somehow above that rule. She confidently started a mental and physical battle that she was entirely unprepared to handle. In the end, the result was far more than a standard 90-82 basketball loss. It was a complete, highly public unraveling of her competitive spirit on live television. Welcome back to WNBA Pro. Today, we are opening the vault to break down one of the most aggressive, satisfying, and psychologically brutal individual rivalries in the modern era of women's basketball. We are combining the intense, cinematic frustration of a superstar pushed to her absolute limit with the cold, undeniable statistics of an experienced defender completely falling apart under intense pressure. If you believe the Indiana Fever's victory over the Valkyries was simply about a player scoring 22 points, you completely overlooked the real psychological war playing out on the court. We are going to analyze the exact, critical error Tiffany Hayes made, examine the precise moment Caitlin Clark tapped into her darkest competitive edge, and call out the glaring, embarrassing hypocrisy displayed during the Golden State post-game press conference. Let us look at the setup and break down the flawed defensive strategy that Golden State tried to use. Ahead of this highly anticipated game, Valkyries head coach Natalie Nakase had convinced herself that she figured out the secret to stopping Caitlin Clark. However, the Golden State game plan was not based on clever basketball spacing or elite defensive switching. It relied entirely on aggressive, physical play. Their strategy was incredibly obvious. Grab her uniform, disrupt her movement, scratch, bump, and commit borderline dangerous fouls whenever she tried to run through a screen. For the first few minutes of the opening quarter, the Valkyries stuck to their physical, old-school plan. Then came the turning point. The exact, disastrous moment when Tiffany Hayes made the absolute worst choice of her professional career.
Taking it to the rack here. Tiffany Hayes taking it to the rack on Caitlin Clark. Starts clapping in Caitlin Clark's face. Takes it to the rack on Caitlin Clark. Starts clapping in Caitlin Clark's face. Jaws at her right after. Jaws at her right after. At this point, do you know what Caitlin Clark said? And I'm going to bring back our...
Right around the 3-minute mark of the opening quarter, Tiffany Hayes managed to score on a tough drive to the basket against Caitlin Clark. It was an ordinary basketball sequence, but instead of quietly running back on defense like an experienced professional, Hayes let her veteran pride completely take over. She immediately turned toward Caitlin Clark, stepped straight into her personal space, and began aggressively clapping right in her face. She talked trash to her. She tried to rattle the confidence of a player who has spent her whole life utterly dominating anyone who dares to challenge her on the court. Tiffany Hayes believed she was taking control of the game. In reality, she triggered a highly dangerous, unstoppable mental reaction in the mind of the most lethal offensive talent the sport has ever seen. As a wise basketball mind once noted, they woke up a monster. They unleashed a completely relentless, absolutely terrifying force. Normally, you want to keep a player of Caitlin Clark's caliber as calm as possible. You want her to stay quiet, relaxed, and working within the standard flow of her team's offense. The last thing you ever want to do is spark the competitive assassin waiting inside her. But Tiffany Hayes clapped right in her face, and Caitlin Clark completely lost her temper. She shifted into an entirely different, unstoppable mode. This was no longer just a regular season game. It turned into a personal, focused effort to publicly humble Tiffany Hayes. The payback was instant, and it served as a masterclass in breaking an opponent's spirit.
Take a look at this. Take a look. She shot it over her and takes like an extra step and a half in Tiffany Hayes' direction to let her know you ain't shit. She takes an extra step and a half, boom, shoots it from the logo, lands, takes a couple extra steps just so Tiffany Hayes can feel her. And let us know, yeah, you ain't shit. Yeah, you ain't shit. Oh yeah, that's right. It's just me and you. Game, yeah, game on. Game the fuck.
Fast forward to the...
We now look at the defining moment of the entire game. Caitlin Clark handles the ball at the top of the floor. She finds herself matched up one-on-one against Tiffany Hayes. Clark does not call for a teammate to set a screen, and she has no intention of passing. She calmly walks right up to the center logo, a massive 33 feet out from the basket, and shoots a long, heavily contested three-pointer right over the top of an outstretched Tiffany Hayes. The ball swishes beautifully through the net. However, it was her reaction immediately after the shot dropped that completely destroyed Hayes' confidence. Clark did not just hit the jumper and casually jog backward. She landed, took a very deliberate extra step right toward Tiffany Hayes, and hurled pure, unfiltered trash talk straight at her. She made it incredibly clear that she cannot be stopped by anyone. She let her know that the clapping was a massive mistake. She stuck out her tongue, establishing complete, undeniable dominance on national television. She was far from finished. Later in the game, Clark caught Hayes defending her on the perimeter once more. Clark went deep into her skill set, pulling off a devastating Kobe Bryant-style step-back jumper that completely fooled Hayes' weak, desperate defense. Clark was picking her apart with precision. Play after play, she was actively draining her confidence in real time. You do not have to just take my word for it, though. We need to look at this with absolute, unbiased analytical focus. We have to examine the cold, hard, undeniable numbers behind Tiffany Hayes' psychological collapse. Before making the critical mistake of clapping in Caitlin Clark's face, Tiffany Hayes opened the game shooting a perfect 4 for 4 from the field. She was locked in and playing with total confidence. Yet, the very second Clark hit that deep logo 3, stepped into her space, and started relentlessly talking back, Tiffany Hayes completely fell apart. She folded like a flimsy piece of backyard furniture. She crumbled like a piece of stale bread. After starting 4 for 4, Hayes made just 3 of her next 9 shots, finishing with a terrible 33% accuracy. Her entire offensive flow dissolved into frantic, isolated play. Whenever she switched onto Clark on the offensive end of the floor, she desperately tried to drive past her to save her damaged pride, resulting in awful shots thrown toward the rim. She missed layups off the backboard, hit the support structure, and missed the rim entirely. She was totally broken, both physically and mentally, by a 24-year-old point guard who simply refused to be intimidated. Yet, the true peak of this entire story did not take place on the hardwood. It happened inside the post-game media room, exposing the glaring, embarrassing hypocrisy of the Golden State Valkyries organization.